Hello, my name's Stu, I work for Robert White, we're a photographic dealer, and today I would like to show you the Expodisc. The Expodisc is a white balance tool used in the same way that lots of other white balance tools are used, that we use them to create a custom white balance for our camera. So instead of merely relying on our auto white balance that scrambles the tones up and assumes it's looking at a neutral, or to decide on a preset for fluorescent, cloudy, tungsten, daylight, shade, whatever it might be, we can create a custom white balance that is set up for the individual lighting situation that we're under at the time. Unlike using a mere grey card, which relies on the reflective light from our subject, this Expodisc allows us to create effectively an incident reading for our colour temperature. The downsides with using a grey card is that if we're wearing a very strong colour, we can get a false reading based on the reflective strong colour back from that grey card. Being an incident reading, we are merely pointing our camera at the light source. In this particular case, I'm using my D700. What I do is I take this white balance disc, which instead of being just a mere diffuser, it's actually made out of several layers. They have a colour correcting layer between several other layers that means it's absolutely neutral. In fact, if I measure it with a spectrophotometer, I will find it will reflect even amounts of red, green or blue, so it's very accurate. And the way that I would use it on most cameras, including this Nikon, is, or in the Nikon case, I set my camera, I go to white balance, which is just on the top, go to white balance, I scroll my command dial around through all the standard white balance settings until I get to the option for pre. I then press the white balance button again and hold it, and I should get the little symbol that says pre starting to flash at me. I then point the camera to my most prominent light source, or back in the direction of the camera as I would with an incident reading, and I release the shutter. Now, assuming I'm getting a good exposure reading, i.e. I'm in automatic or program mode, I will get the word on the top of the camera saying good. This signifies that I've obtained a very good custom white balance. It does rely on us having a good exposure, so if we were setting it in manual mode, we'd have to determine that we were going to get good exposure for that first. The other thing that you can use the Expodisc for is actually to turn your camera into an incident light meter. If I set my camera to the mode manual, I get onto the top of my camera the plus and minus to show when I balance my aperture and shutter speed when I'm going to get good exposure. In this particular case, I take my Expodisc, I lay it over the front of the lens, and I point it normally back in the direction of the camera, or again at my most prominent light source, so because I'm measuring an average of the light landing on my subject. I can then use the plus and minus on the command dial to either add or subtract exposure, or I adjust my aperture, in this particular case on my Zeiss lens I do it manually, until the plus and minus symbol on the top of the camera shows that it's in the middle. This will signify that I'm getting very, very good exposure. I can then, if I wish, create my custom white balance based on that exposure. Out of all the white balance products that we've come across with, this is my absolute favourite. And although we might be shooting in RAW, which of course really we should do to get the most high quality results out of our cameras, it means that our images are tagged with an accurate white balance for that particular occasion. We can then adjust our white balance afterwards, but we know exactly what the accurate white balance was. We think this is a brilliant little product. It's the sort of thing that you just slide into the back pocket of your camera bag. It's always there for either a manual exposure reading or a custom preset white balance. That's all I really need to say about it. If you need any more information, please, it's robertwhite.co.uk. Thank you very much.